Hello everyone out there in YouTube land. Welcome to Pack Rat's Shack. To those of you who have been following, you know me, I'm Packy. Thanks for checking in today. Today is just an update at behind the scenes of what's been going on for the last few weeks. I hope you all had an amazing, wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you found time to enjoy that with your closest friends and family. We had a nice, peaceful time around here. Probably the most minimalistic prep for a good meal, under an hour. I mean, when you're working all day, every day, you don't want to be in the kitchen all day long making that special meal. Sometimes it's more about just the people you can actually shut off the day for and spend time with. And that's what I chose to do this time. It wasn't a microwave meal, that's for sure. So we're blessed for that. It was an actual meal. We just, you can only eat so much anyway. What's the point in overdoing it? It was just nice to have a lazy day. Let's just say that. So I would say the hardest thing for me about Thursday was knowing that it was the best weather day we were going to have for probably over a week. And I was probably about 3/4 of the way done with my exterior project, my last one that I needed to do for this house, and that would have been the day to complete it, so it would have been ready for today's release, but that's not what you're watching. I am hoping that the forecast does lighten up and we get back to temperatures above 30 degrees so I can finish up this outdoor project. It's the last one I'm working on. I already said that. But I want to be able to finish that up and hopefully have it uploaded next Sunday. So stay tuned for that. Instead, this is what I did. That's not a pretty picture, is it? Someone in their jammies, just drinking coffee, taking notes, watching other YouTubers create content. Yeah, football, that's right. Lazy. A good part of Friday, a good part of Saturday, I spent watching other folks put out their knowledge on different things that I need to prepare my mind for. The builders will have all the exterior done and it will be watertight, finished on the outside. I mean, I probably have to paint the outside as soon as spring hits, but as far as building, it'll be watertight and done. Lockable. I'm finishing it from the studs on. So I have a lot to prepare myself for. A lot of things I have done, but I don't do every day. So reacquainting myself with things is always good, but it is also good to just see what is available now that maybe wasn't available a few years ago. Another big part of that is getting a workshop up and going as fast as possible, knowing that I won't have time to make it complete in the beginning, but if I could get the bones going to get productivity done for all of the custom builds or anything done and throughout the house that I have to do, then after the house is done and the bank is closed off on it, I can go back into completing the workshop. We are also at the point where we had to make plumbing fixture decisions, like specific ones, so we could send specs to the contractor. So all of that could be roughed in before the concrete floor is poured in the basement. I have to think about how I can get the jobs done that I need to do while I'm down there to get the house done. Even some things that I am clicking on to watch, like they might not be what I need to know right this second, but they're starting to get me thinking and processing in a direction that's not my everyday typical way of processing. So another thing that I was able to accomplish was fitting in one of my clients. Like you that are followers understand that I'm not taking paying jobs right now because I was trying to wrap this whole house up for sale. But what I have is one particular client that, I've been working with for over a year, and on 2 different houses. And I just told her I would fit her in whenever I could. And here is a small room in the house across from the master suite area that really they don't need for anything, so they turned it into a changing room. Here's a before picture of what the space looked like before I shiplapped and painted it all. So I had to just finish trimming out the top. And then here's another area that I finished trimming out. And this is the before picture, which looked like holy chaos camole. And now here's pictures of the afterwards. On the far side is this little closet that still needed trimmed out. So I went ahead and trimmed that out for them. I'm not taking credit for this. I wasn't the one that remodeled this bathroom area. It was done by another contractor, but I am helping with finishing out some of the areas that they remodeled, such as the kitchen, this master suite area, and the regular bathroom area. I go in after they're done and I caulk and I do the final painting and sometimes some of the trim work and stuff, just different things that I'm capable of doing after they do all the hard nitty gritty stuff. Another thing that I needed to get done, and I took the opportunity to get it done now when it seemed like the weather caused me to slow down, is I have been trying to sell my daughter's twin size bedroom set for over a year. Anyways, when we moved into this house, she still had that set, but she was a teenager by that point. So we cut down the high posts and made them more mature like, and we distressed back the finish and put on this grayish purple color because it really was a deep dark color that worked well with the galaxy wall. But then once she wanted to get totally away from that and buy her own, then I had been trying to sell this. So it hadn't gone very well. I'd been trying to sell them on Facebook Marketplace, on my Facebook business page, and it's not gone well. And the feedback was the purple. So it was about a week and a half ago that I made a decision and arrangements with the business owner to go in after hours to refinish the bed and dresser to get rid of that purple. So I started with trying to strip the purple off of the headboard. I spent about 5 hours on it. It just wasn't going well, and it was already getting close to midnight, and I thought maybe I should go home, pack this up, clean it all up. I can't leave everything in a disaster here, so I gotta put the booth back together as is, with this piece as is. And I came up with another plan. We worked together on the idea, but then I was off to Tennessee for another trip. So I didn't have the time to finish the idea before leaving, and then when we got back was the handful of nice days. I knew I needed to get going on the outdoor project whenever there was a nice day because there's not many of them left. Thursday I came across a message from somebody interested in that set, and I had to let them know I had already started reprocessing them because I was getting feedback that the purple was killing it, and it's been attempted to be sold for over a year, so I finally decided to change it, but it was in the middle of the change. They were still interested. They wanted pictures, and I informed them that I did not have pictures yet, and I didn't plan on taking the pictures until I was completely done, but I did let them know where it was on the floor at, and that they could go in and see it, just to understand it wasn't done yet. So they said, okay. So I'm thinking, all right, great, everything's cool. So I got there Saturday after business hours to complete the refinish. I made arrangements with the business owner who runs the whole store, and that was fine for Saturday. I got there and the dresser was gone. It just happens to be that when you're in the middle of refinishing something that didn't do good for a year, then the set got broke up and somebody bought the dresser without the bed. So, good for me, something sold, but makes it harder probably to sell the bed. And I was in the communications with the person on the set. So part of me was thinking, well, nobody was interested, and now that's gone. Maybe she did come in and look at it, and really the dresser was what she wanted, and the bed, since it's only half redone, got left behind. So I continue on and I refinish the twin bed. And this is kind of that process. Then when I got home, I immediately opened up communication with her again, sent her the picture of what the twin bed looks like now, and told her that by the time I arrived Saturday, it had sold earlier that day. And it didn't sell Friday. It was confirmed that it had sold that day, Saturday, which I had conversations with her on Thursday about where it was for her to view it. So then I got a response from her, all in caps. I wanted both. Well, when we see stuff all in caps, we assume someone's yelling at us. So then I'm automatically like, blaming myself that I failed on some level, which I think that's my problem on why I over communicate. I always think that I fail. But then I had to shut that off and say, no, you communicated where it was. She could have got up and went and looked at it, but still there's a part of me that feels bad for that person because maybe they finally found what they were looking for and then they was giving me time to finish it. I can only do so much, and I need to learn how to let go of what I can't control. And I had no control over somebody coming in and buying it. And a part of me thought that maybe it was her, but then I got yelled at, so it wasn't her. And I kind of feel bad for her, but life goes on. It's not the worst scenario there is out there. There is one worse coming up. So earlier I mentioned that wasn't the biggest deal. There's a bigger deal, a bigger problem going on right now. Let's dive into that one. Just to make life a little bit more interesting around here, as if it wasn't interesting and packed full day to day, let's pack it in a little bit deeper. So I would say about the last month or so, I have been noticing markings and flags on my property. I know Surf Internet was going through. I know they have to mark where the rest of the utilities go so they don't accidentally damage a pre-existing service that would be running under lines. I live right on a main road, so their service goes through close to my property. So then Nipsco, even though the properties that are pertinent to Surf are on county easement or right-of-way, it still brings Nipsco's eyes to my property. And Nipsco called in a meter change location. There's probably better technical terms. I'm probably not saying it right. So at the time, I'm not aware of any of this because nobody knocks and talks. It's in their right to do what they got to do, whether it's on your property or not. And I kept seeing new markings and reapplied over and over and over. And then finally, about a month ago, is when I found a service guy that it was hired by Nipsco come out and do his marking, and again, like I said, this isn't the first time, so I would think that, hey, you done your thing, get out of here, you don't. Well, I knew this must mean something more than Surf going through. So this particular person can't really relay information from Nipsco, but they was able to say it had to do something with the gas meter. that they were marking for, and some kind of a work service order being put out on the property. But he said, call Nipsco, they can tell more. I finally got a hold of the right person in Nipsco, and they were able to say, yes, a work order was put in to change the meter location because of the riser or something like that. And I'm like, okay, you know, I bought this house with the deck built around it. Why is it right now a problem? Like right when I'm wanting to sell the house, why is this a problem? She couldn't really answer any of that, but said she would have the engineer call me. And a week goes by and I get no call. And then we get busy and have another trip to Tennessee. And then in all of this time frame, I'm also making arrangements for my tentative buyers to meet with me and show them the house. I had enough time here to be able to start upgrading, and I needed to keep that upgrading going to get the price mark I wanted out of it. And thoughts become things and plans become reality, and this is how you get to the next step. And long story short, the people that I already had interested in my house, yes, of course, I know them. And she actually watches the channel, so there's no way I can cover up anything. I mean, everything is out there at face value for people to see what I do to my house. So I'm not trying to cover up anything. Again, it's all aesthetics that I do. I do finishing work. Now, the one thing that was structural, I showed them, and I had certified contractors come out and do. And it had something to do with the load bearing and a beam in the garage. So that was done by a contractor, which is why it's not on the channel, because I'm not the one that did it. I brought them in and they were able to look at the house. Their interest grew even more. I wanted to give them time to get all the stuff done on their end with the banks and to see what they could get out of theirs, and making sure that their end met up to my end. So then there was that little bit of delay. And once I got that information back, that was all good to go. And on top of that, the domino effect of happiness is just continually going, because they did find a buyer for their house as well, which that's what they were worried about. With the outdoor project that I'm doing, I invited them back because I had 2 ideas I wanted to do. I don't want to put time and effort into something that just gets ripped out as soon as I walk away. Now, obviously, as people live here, they will make changes, and things will need to be maintained, and as they need to be maintained, they will be changes down the road. That's fine. I understand that. But immediately after you do something that costs money, time, material, everything is so freaking costly right now. It only would do them good as well as it would do me good to know we are both in the same mental alignment on this. And so I had her over and we discussed that, and she agreed on my plan A, which is how I was going to do it anyway. But the day before is when I happened to meet with a Nipsco person that was on my property again, marking again. And I happened to be home. They were there a little bit better to give me some information, verifying the meter was what needed to be changed, and they were out remarking it again, whatever. And I said I had already tried contacting, and I had arrangements for the engineer to call me. They never did. How do I get the engineer actually to call me? Because this guy couldn't tell me whether they were going to start the work the next, like anytime before Thanksgiving or sometime after the new year. It all depended on work crew availability. That doesn't help me make plans to sell the house, because it's hard to sell a house if a gas meter is in the midst of being reworked. It just sounds like a huge headache. So when she was here and we were agreeing on plan A for outside, I let her know This is what I'm getting information from Nipsco, and this is the second time I've put in a call for the engineer, and I'm waiting to hear back. So the engineer got a hold of me Friday and said, you know, he hadn't had eyes on it yet because even though this area is his jurisdiction as well, he's from about a half hour, 45 minutes away. So he hasn't had eyes on it yet. But he could meet me here and we could figure it all out. And he understood there was an issue with the timing because of selling the house. So then I forwarded the information to the buyers and gave them the opportunity to meet me here. She wasn't able to meet me, but he was. So we're all here, seller, buyer, and engineer, Monday at 10. And it doesn't stop there. All of a sudden, yes, the gas meter is an issue and it should be moved. But wow, that electric that's running right underneath the addition that was put in, whoever knows how long ago, is a bigger problem. So now I have to change breaker box location, which a slab is in between. And apparently, because everything happens for a reason, it was very, very important for Surf to go through at this time, at this moment in time, right before the sale of the house, so that everybody from here on out will be protected because I'm going to be the one to do things right. Now, I try to keep things short, but as you can see, I'm not very good at it. Once I get going, I just keep going. So that was the problem with Nipsco. I am still trying to transition Stormy, my outdoor cat, inside, and he doesn't like willingly want to come in. I think he thinks that it's the end of the world in here. That's what goes on in his mind. It's the end of the world. They want me to go in. I mean, he has come in and out at different times, but he always wants right back out. And it seems like now the more mental energy I'm wanting it to happen, the more he's not wanting to come in. And then cats must have really good memories because the last time, not the last time I've had him in, but the last time I had to have him in before trying to acclimate him in was to get him to the vet. And so building and redoing that whole outdoor area where if I shut the door, there's no way in or out for him really helped me in catching him for the last vet visit, which then I'm bringing him in the back door and trying to get him in a kennel for the transport, which is not a good memory for him. So he feels trapped when there's not doors open. I don't get it. It is so cold out there. I have to plug in the water so it doesn't freeze over. I have to change out his water bottles in his bed to keep it warm for him to bed down into. And pad in all these extra blankets into his bedding and around the outside of the house. Even though I've put insulation into the walls of his house, I still layered up with my painting canvases to try to block wind and just more try to keep the heat that he creates in as best as possible. And I guess I've just made it too good for him out there. And he, according to the vet, is very, very healthy. He's thick and strong and healthy. So he doesn't want to come in. Even though he has feline leukemia and they gave him a 2-year lifespan and he is now 5, he still doesn't want to come in and take the easy old man life. Like, I'm looking at him right now and he knows I'm talking about him, but he won't come in. He looks pathetically inside and wants to like have you out there with him, but he doesn't want to come in to be with you. So that's a big struggle I'm dealing with because I was hoping to acclimate him inside this house before having to put him in a 9-hour drive to an unknown area and then inside an unknown house with, of course, I would take his house with me and all of his stuff that his scent is on, so that when I placed it inside the other house, he would know that's his stuff and he's there now. And then that would give him a place to be so that he couldn't run off into the woods scared out of his mind and not find his way back because he hadn't laid down a scent path yet. So I don't know, it doesn't seem to be working out like I planned, because we're almost into December, and if I say have to move down there in January and I still don't have him acclimated to being indoors, this is just going to make that trip that much more hard for him. In the midst of taking many trips down there, we make the trip count by taking loads of stuff. And every time we've been down there in the last month, there's been progression. So it's been nice to see the ground broke, but a double-edged sword that you caused some destruction of woods in order for that to happen. So for our request, they removed as little as possible, and you can see that here there's just enough for the footprint of the home, basically. So about 2.5 weeks when we arrived with yet another delivery, then we could see that the footings were all dug and poured. They had time to cure, and the delivery of block and all the supplies to set the block for the foundation walls of the basement were there. So it was about a week or so ago that was our last trip down there, and it was nice to see that the crew was there and they were installing all the block work. So they were about half done with that, and they speculated they'd be done the next day. And that means then the following week after that was when hopefully all of the plumbing roughed in would be done and the floor poured. So we're hoping that we will actually be seeing the framework getting going the next time we're down there. So that will be exciting. That is when things will start picking up in pace and becoming more stressful. So I think that's about it. All the important behind the scenes things in Packy's life. And I really appreciate all of you, my followers, that keep checking in with me to see what's going on in my journey. If you actually are finding this interesting, please leave a comment below, because that's how I learn what you want from me as far as like what content I produce. So with that in mind, if you actually did like this content, please give me the thumbs up, let me know, and until next time, stay safe out there. So I guess we get to try this third time. First time, my mic wasn't on. Second time, apparently I didn't hit the record button. Hours spent talking to nothing. What a waste of a good Sunday. You know, I got things to do today. What do you think, football? You think this time we might be able to get it done? Think this time we might be able to get it done? Put your big girl pants on and just keep on trucking, right?